Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. The question we had this morning, did these two ladies go rogue on that final play? Was this play actually drawn up for Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham said, I think I'll make a different decision with the basketball? Was this play drawn up to get Kelsey Mitchell the game-winning shot so Stephanie White can run across the court, chase her down, tackle her, smother her with love? Or was this for Caitlin Clark?
That's the question everyone is talking about in Fever fan forums this morning. Did Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham ignore the planned play during the biggest possession of Indiana's season, with Indiana trailing Washington by 1 point in a Commissioner's Cup game? Clark hit the first game-winning shot of her career, giving the Fever a 78-76 victory. But as soon as the shot went in, the conversation wasn't just about the basket. Fans immediately started wondering if that was the play the coaches had actually called.
Lexi Hull, at the end of the game on Indianapolis radio, she spilled the beans. She said that play didn't go exactly as planned. Wait, what do you mean? Caitlin Clark had a wide open three. Wait, getting her wide open to win the game wasn't exactly as planned?
To understand why people are making that claim, let's go back about 90 seconds. Indiana was leading by 1 point when Caitlin Clark went to the free throw line and missed both shots. Washington then took the lead, but Clark quickly responded by finding Kelsey Mitchell in transition for a layup that put the Fever back in front. With just 4.3 seconds remaining, Sonia Citron made 2 free throws to give the Mystics a 76-75 lead. Indiana called a timeout and had one final possession to try to win the game. According to comments made during a post-game radio interview, what happened on that last play may not have been exactly what the coaches had drawn up during the timeout.
Many people are thinking this is supposed to be right here. Give it to Kelsey Mitchell right here. She's going to get it going downhill. Tries to get a nice pull-up midi or taking it all the way to the rack. However, this misdirection on the backside, Sonia Citron and Cody McMahon, they miscommunicate. They get lost in assignment. They're supposed to switch and they don't switch. So one goes with Lexi Hull. They both go with Lexi Hull instead of Sonia Citron switching onto Caitlin Clark. And we have this wide open shot. Caitlin Clark. Bang.
Here's how the play unfolded. Sophie Cunningham was taking the ball out of bounds while facing heavy pressure. On the other side of the court, Washington's defense made a mistake. 2 defenders followed the same player, leaving Caitlin Clark completely open. Then, defender Kiki Iriafen, actually user said Cody McMahon may be wrong, took a risk and tried to steal the inbound pass instead of staying with Clark. The moment she did, Clark was left alone about 27 feet from the basket. Cunningham delivered a perfect pass across the court. Clark caught it, got set, and knocked down the game-winning shot. What made the moment even more impressive was that Clark had already committed 5 turnovers and missed 2 free throws in the final minute. Despite those mistakes, she stayed confident and delivered when it mattered most.
Just so people know, Kelsey Mitchell was a primary option on this play, and Caitlin Clark was the secondary option. Sophie made the decision to give it to Cece as the inbound defender, took away the Kelsey pass. That's why the pass was late. Okay, interesting. Then we have Millie. I'm Millie Rock on any block. Then we have Millie. The first thing that shows that play wasn't for Caitlin is AB screening to free Mitchell. The second thing is the pin down isn't set for Cece. A lot of serendipity. Sophie made a clutch read and react play, and Cece is clutch as F.
And that detail, the defender gambling for the steal, is where the whole debate starts to fall apart. From what happened on the court, it looked like Kelsey Mitchell was the first option on the play, while Caitlin Clark was the backup option. When the defender abandoned her position and went for the steal, Sophie Cunningham immediately recognized it. Instead of forcing the ball to the first option, she made the smart read and passed to the player, who was suddenly wide open. That's not a player ignoring the coach's instructions. That's an experienced veteran making the exact decision the play was designed to allow. Still, the people who believe Clark went off script have a stronger argument than simply pointing to a defensive mistake. Their case is based on something else entirely. Here's why they think that.
But now, what makes me believe that Kelsey Mitchell actually was the first option is when Lexi Hull comes on the radio and says the last play was not exactly what was drawn up. If that wasn't exactly what was drawn up, then what was the initial play design? What was the first up? It had to be Kelsey Mitchell, if that was right. If getting Caitlin Clark a wide open three isn't exactly what was drawn up, then getting Kelsey Mitchell the ball had to be the initial plan.
The argument sounds simple enough. If a wide-open Caitlin Clark three-pointer wasn't the intended play, then Kelsey Mitchell must have been the primary option. The problem with that theory is that Clark herself addressed it after the game. She explained that these are sets the team practices regularly, that every player understands their role, and that the shot she got was probably the most open look she had all night. She also pointed out that the defender's gamble helped create that opening. In other words, the play was designed to react to the defense. If a defender cheated toward one option, another player could become open. The goal wasn't necessarily to force the ball to one specific player no matter what. It was to find the best available shot. That's why a radio comment about the play not unfolding exactly as it was drawn up is being used to support a theory that Clark herself dismissed. The play may have looked different than expected, but the results still fit within what the team had practiced. And when you look closer, this debate isn't really about X's and O's at all. It's about something bigger. It's become a discussion about trust, decision-making, and the relationship between Clark and the coaching staff. That's why the conversation keeps growing, even after the shot has already been made.
Feeling this morning, Fever fan? Waiting for the trade announcement. Happy for CC, still sick of watching a tired-ass, outdated, ineffective offense. Great win by players in spite of your coach. I feel like you should fire Stephanie White. CC heroics doesn't diminish the truly negative impact the coaches are having on her and the team's performance. Another 17-point lead blown by sitting CC. Feeling like we still need a new coach.
The frustration from fans is real, and it's understandable. Indiana led by 17 points in the third quarter, only to see Washington battle back and take a 1-point lead in the final minute. It was another game where the Fever made things much more difficult than they needed to be. That frustration comes at a time when there's already a lot of attention on the relationship between Caitlin Clark and head coach Stephanie White. Just days earlier, cameras captured a heated exchange between the two on the bench during a one-sided loss. The animated discussion quickly went viral, leading many fans to question how Clark was being used and whether her minutes were being managed correctly. The criticism didn't just come from fans. Former NBA player Michael Thompson also publicly suggested that the Fever were not using their franchise star in the best possible way. Because of that background, every close game is being viewed through a different lens. When a 17-point lead nearly disappears, many people are quick to blame coaching decisions and look for signs of tension behind the scenes. That's why the reaction to this game was so intense. It wasn't just about one final possession. It was the latest chapter in an ongoing debate about how Indiana is handling its biggest star and whether the team is maximizing her talent.
Makes me feel like these guys went rogue. Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark gave each other a look coming out of the huddle. Say, that's what we got to do.
Steph, was that the play you drew up, or how much confidence do you have in Caitlin for that shot?
Well, Austin drew up the play. I mean, Austin does a lot of our end-of-game stuff. And
those opinions are no longer coming from just a small group of fans. Trade rumors are constantly circulating, and calls to fire the coach have become a regular part of online discussions surrounding the Fever. But the most important voice in the organization continues to push back against that narrative, and that's Caitlin Clark herself. When asked directly about the heated exchange with Stephanie White, Clark described it as a moment between two highly competitive people who both desperately wanted to win. She made it clear that she supports White, saying that her coach has her back more than anyone. Clark also stated that many of the reports and discussions suggesting a serious rift are, in her words, blatantly wrong. It's important to remember the larger context. Last season was extremely challenging for Clark. Injuries limited her availability, and a groin strain eventually ended her season early. Throughout those difficult stretches, reports consistently described her relationship with White as strong and supportive. That leaves fans with a difficult question. Should they trust a brief sideline moment captured by cameras and replayed across social media? Or should they trust the words of the franchise player who is directly involved and continues to publicly support her coach? That's the choice at the center of this debate, and it's one that many fans are still trying to figure out.
Really good job finding a way. And you know what? The coach still needs to go. The coach still needs to go. With all due respect, CC bailed you out. Minimal shout out to CC. That would have been Mitchell Stephanie White would be crying tears of joy. Yep. They shouldn't have to find a way. You guys were leading by 17. At least yep. Just like it was drawn up, fam.
There's a reason that explanation resonated with so many people. When Stephanie White was asked to design the game-winning play, she immediately gave credit to assistant coach Austin Kelly. That's significant because Kelly isn't just another assistant on the bench. He's Indiana's lead assistant, helps oversee the offense, and is someone White has trusted for years. The two previously worked together in Connecticut, where they helped lead the team to the WNBA semifinals. That trust has been evident for a long time. When White stepped away from the team for personal reasons last season, Kelly took over as acting head coach and won his debut in a convincing victory over the Chicago Sky. Because of that history, fans often joke that Kelly is the one really running the team. The joke exists for a reason. He helps design many of Indiana's after-timeout plays, and has already shown he can handle head coaching responsibilities when needed. But this is where some people take the argument too far. Giving credit to an assistant coach for drawing up a successful play is not an admission that the head coach is failing. In reality, that's how strong coaching staffs operate. White hired Kelly, trusts him, and allows him to take ownership of important parts of the game plan. That's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of a staff working together effectively. The strongest criticism from this game is that Indiana nearly gave away a large lead. That's a fair concern. It's also fair to note that White and Clark have had emotional, highly visible moments on the sidelines. But neither of those things proves dysfunction or sabotage. So let's return to the original question. Did Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham ignore the play and go rogue? Based on what Clark said afterward and what actually happened on the court, the answer appears to be no. Cunningham saw a defender gamble for a steal and made the correct read. Clark moved into the open space the defense created and was rewarded with a clean look. The play adapted to the defense, exactly as good offensive sets are designed to do. The dramatic version of the story, two stars ignoring their coach and improvising a game winner, makes for a great headline. But the evidence points to something more interesting: a well-prepared team recognizing a defensive mistake, trusting each other, and executing under pressure when the game was on the line. Drop it in the comments. Tell me which fever you actually watched last night, the dysfunction or the fire. And if you want the next breakdown the moment this thing either explodes or settles, you know what to do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next.